I've talked to hundreds of detained asylum seekers, and I was frequently struck by how they're treated but like incarcerated criminals, despite many, as Pilar mentioned, having no criminal record. I can describe how a typical day would start for an asylum seeker who I spoke with. So they were woken up extremely early. I was usually shocked by how early they were woken up and fed breakfast. It was maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. And then by the time I talked to them, they were tired, they were hungry. And this is a really important, life-altering interview to determine if they potentially qualified for a hearing in front of an immigration judge. So in Florence, Arizona, for example, in the immigration detention facility, I would wait inside of a side door while guards unloaded buses of asylum seekers who were bussed over from a prison nearby. Despite most having no criminal record, they were housed in a prison anyway. They wore orange jumpsuits, they were shackled at the wrists and the feet. So they shuffled in line to be unshackled, and then they waited in a holding cell all day until they were called for an interview one by one. While waiting, they had absolutely nothing to do, and then they were typically fed a meager meal at lunch. And then, as an example of the consistent derogatory treatment, I remember one man I was interviewing needed to use the restroom. So we asked the security guard to take him to the restroom. When the asylum seeker could not immediately find the restroom, the guard mocked him, called him names. And then when the man turned around, the guard pretended like he was kicking him, like in the seat of his pants. And then he laughed about it with the other security guards. The contract security guards and ICE officers refer to immigration detainees as bodies, which is a common term in incarcerated situations. And that's the commonplace term among DHS officials. So the system is extremely dehumanizing.